There are 5 CM Punk feuds that WWE does not want you to remember. They want you to forget about it like it never even happened. But for me and a lot of other people, well, they're so bad that it's very difficult to forget about. Now, look, CM Punk is one of the best to ever do it in WWE and pro wrestling in general. But that does not mean that he was saved by bad creative, especially in WWE. Now, keep in mind that all of these are going to be coming in WWE over the course of various instances and various periods of his legendary and Hall of Fame type worthy career. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 5, The Big Show single-handedly destroyed his straight edge society group that CM Punk led. Here's the quick breakdown. After CM Punk got done with a feud with Rey Mysterio, in which Rey Mysterio embarrassed CM Punk by shaving his head when they did a mask versus hair match, things only got worse for Punk storyline-wise. He went and feuded with The Big Show, which is never necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. Big Show, he feuded with Punk in the Straight Edge Society, and time again, Big Show, he went over the group, and he absolutely made them look like jobbers. The worst instance of this came in 2010 at SummerSlam. It was Big Show. He beat the group all on his own in just 5 minutes. They ran it back a month later with, at number 4, it is CM Punk and Kevin Nash's feud. And thankfully for all of us, it was cut short. Look, in the summer of 2011, at SummerSlam, Kevin Nash, he came out and he attacked CM Punk and he cost him the WWE Championship. Now, the storyline was he got a text from Triple H to do so, but Triple H, he denied it. It was later revealed that Nash sent the text to himself in one of the most silly plot twists in WWE history. Now, Nash and Punk, they were going at it on TV, cutting promos. I actually attended a Monday Night Raw where I had to endure this. It was bad. And it was just not the way that WWE should have followed up on Punk's huge rise in popularity in 2011. Think about this. He went from being the hottest babyface in the company to just another guy on the roster. It took him down such a level. When you go from an epic feud and an epic match with John Cena in the summer of Punk returning and then beating John Cena, and then what are you doing, right? Like, what are you doing? It only worsened his momentum. Now, due to Nash's poor physical condition, they opted to pull Nash from the match. And instead, Punk transitioned into a feud with Triple H, which wasn't much better, and Triple H actually went over Punk. Either way, the short period of time that Punk had in his feud with Kevin Nash was god-awful. It was terrible. No one liked this time period. It was that bad. Go back and try to watch this feud. Go back, YouTube it, go on Peacock, go on Netflix, whatever the case may be. Go back and watch some of these promos. They're that bad. Like, I'm not overestimating this. They're that bad. Kevin Nash, obviously past his prime at this point, but even the promos alone wasn't good because the storyline just sucked, right? Can't do much with a bad storyline. At number 3, it was one of CM Punk's first feuds in ECW when he feuded with Mike Knox. Now, keep in mind, let's set the background here. Mike Knox's girlfriend on television was Kelly Kelly. Now, Kelly Kelly, she started to develop feelings for CM Punk, and that led to Mike Knox getting jealous, and then they feuded. Now, CM Punk's first steps in the world of WWE, they weren't ideal. Paul Heyman was pushing for him to be a main eventer, while Vince McMahon wanted to get rid of him. He entered into a feud with Mike Knox, and this was at a time where there wasn't a lot of good creative going on at ECW. And in fact, in this storyline, there was little creativity at all. And it wasn't very good to introduce Punk and his character to the mass audience. Punk at the time, he felt like a generic young guy who was interested in girls rather than being a serious wrestler. And when you're dealing with someone like that on an ECW program at a time where they were still trying to establish ECW as ECW before they turned it into WWE ECW, well, it didn't work out very well. Now, it didn't help that Mike Knox wasn't very good to begin with. He just wasn't. He wasn't around for much longer after this either. Storylines. And this won't be the last time that we talk about Punk's tenure on ECW. Number 2, it was when Punk feuded with Matt Striker and Big Daddy V. This was a horrible feud. Now look, Let's set the background here. When CM Punk won the ECW World title eventually, the brand had already fallen off the deep end. It was not the classic, the retro, the old school ECW that fans had grew and loved. In fact, we didn't know what the heck it was. But Punk, he defended his gold in a David versus Goliath program against the slow, plodding, and absolutely boring Big Daddy V. And it wasn't extremely good. Now, Punk's match with a larger opponent at No Mercy, it was bad, it was horrible, it was horrendous. Luckily, it ended in a DQ, only for Matt Striker to enter the scene. He started a feud with CM Punk that was off and on throughout their time in ECW, but this was just not very good. No offense to Matt Striker, he wasn't very good as an in-ring wrestler. And that did not help things here. So when you have not the greatest in-ring worker versus the bad storyline, it just doesn't gel very well. And at number 1, it was CM Punk feuding with Curtis Axel. Yeah, so let's set the scene. Paul Heyman had been paired with CM Punk during the latter part of his WWE run. He then obviously lost it to The Rock, he lost to The Undertaker, and then Paul Heyman turned on him, right? Paul Heyman aligned himself with Ryback and Curtis Axel. That would eventually lead to a feud with Brock Lesnar. But we had to go through a lot to get to Lesnar, and even coming out of it, we had a lot to deal with. Punk, once he was done with Lesnar, he moved on to Curtis Axel. Now, this was a terrible chapter in Punk's career, in my opinion, because Curtis Axel, he was never presented as a real threat to Punk. And this is despite the fact that he was being the IC champion, the Intercontinental champion at the time. Despite holding gold, a prestigious championship in the eyes of many fans, well, he was presented as a glorified jobber. Punk, he didn't even care for the title, which obviously lessened the prestige of the title and further buried Curtis Axel. This was just a horrible time in Punk's career. He was beat up. He had to work with Ryback, which was well documented on Colt Cabana's infamous podcast Shoot. You have to keep in mind, Curtis Axel, obviously the son of Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, he never had it, right? Was he solid in the ring? Yes. Was he great in the ring? No. Was he a good promo? No. Did he have charisma? No. There was a lot to be desired there, but they did give him a shot, and then they just let it be. They just turned him into a comedy figure. The only problem is CM Punk had to deal with that comedy figure, before he turned into a comedy figure, but the writing was on the wall once Punk got to Axel. It just wasn't going to work. But they went forward with it, and we will see where we go next with CM Punk. And hopefully, under Triple H's leadership, it's not going to be anything bad.